Welcome back to OPA Podcast. I freaking forgot what episode we're at, so we're just going to roll with it. But welcome to another episode of OPA Podcast. We'll be recapping the Wisconsin game, plus discussing a bunch of other topics like the new coach has been hired so far in the Big Ten as of the 28th of November, Big Ten Championship that's going to be on the 3rd of December, and plus other things going on with like CAP rankings and other stuff. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the episode. So, gentlemen, our Golden Gophers have taken back the axe for consecutive seasons since 1993 and 94, and also back-to-back 8-win seasons, I believe, since the early 1900s. I think 1905 is what they said. Winning against the Wisconsin Badgers 23 to 16. For this matchup. So just to update the entire score chart here, we have our predictions. So Laurent's is actually at 10-2 for the overall season, which matches his preseason prediction, like for his personal record, which is pretty cool. Wyatt was 8-4. I was also 8-4. Griffin was 8-4, and then Soup with intermittent moments in the podcast at 6-1. So I think technically Soup has the better record percentage-wise, I think, if I did the math
Minimum
right.
7 games played or whatever.
Also, Laurent's didn't show up to a single podcast, so...
Yep. But yes, our Golden Gophers are 8-4 overall, and we do have the axe back. So it's great. It was a fun game to watch, but let's get into some of the stuff with this game. So again, we won 23-16. I believe Soup predicted it, or was it Wyatt? A lot of field goals this game.
Yeah, really bold prediction.
I predicted it to fall almost exactly the other way.
Yeah.
And thank the boys for proving me wrong. But a lot of field goals. We do like that when points are at a premium, though.
Yeah, for sure.
Last week's episode is a masterclass in emotional hedging.
Yep.
I'd like to begin by saying thank you, PJ, for listening to the pod. Clearly you heard what Soup had to say last week.
I think that's a Soup, all of us. Like, we all had something to chime in about this current program.
Yeah, I was just the loudest.
Yep.
Oh, I'm just talking about specifically the timeout issue.
Okay. Well, let's stop stepping on Jason's intro and let us actually do something.
Yeah. So going on from there. So obviously the Gophers did win, but we do have to discuss a few things. So as a result of this game, Ethan got actually honored by the Big Ten as co-freshman of the week, which is pretty cool. I was expecting some sort of accolades for him. And also to note, he is the he is the first Minnesota quarterback to eclipse the 300-yard mark passing. Last person to do that was Tanner Morgan back in 2019 in the loss to Iowa. So kudos to Ethan, and also scoring 2 touchdowns as well, passing and getting some yards on his legs. And also, I have to say about Ethan, the dude had balls of steel, staying in the pocket and making crazy ass passes while getting pressured and getting tackled in the face. Some I remember one where they were reviewing it for targeting, and then we got a couple others that were roughing the passer. So the cojones of Ethan Kellick, man, is the Greek rifle, the Greek cannon, came out this game, and I'm all for it.
Yeah, I mean, I was just really impressed, like you said, Jason, with his poise in the pocket, especially. I mean, the touchdown he throws to LeMacky Brockington that ices the game away comes 2 plays after he takes a shot to the face, right? And even that throw, he's standing in there and he gets crushed. He gets crushed as he throws a slant, but he sees it. He knows it's coming. He throws right into the blitz. That's exactly what they coach you to do. And then it's just money. It's really nice to see that he has the confidence and the willingness to push the ball downfield that a lot of younger quarterbacks don't have. You see a lot of younger quarterbacks get nervous and be afraid of turning the ball over or whatever. And especially in a program as conservative as PJ's, philosophy is, he's out there just slinging it around.
Yeah, I would have expected a lot more check down in some of the situations where he was under pressure, and Wisconsin had him under pressure all game. That defensive line is not one to be trifled with. That is a force of nature right there. And, Athan really showed why we have reason to be excited about him. And there's room for improvement here. But it's hard to complain after a 300-yard, 2-touchdown performance from a player starting his, fifth game?
Yeah,
It was
I
even-
mean,
It was even funnier. Oh, sorry. It was even funnier the reactions from Wisconsin fans of how pissed they were of how well he did. They're like, they were calling him a backup quarterback that threw for over 300 yards on our defense, and they were acting like they were just like their program was in shambles. I was like, no, you can give the dude some credit. Like, this dude can be and hopefully will be very good. Just know your program's not the plug and play that it used to be a couple years ago.
For sure. But besides Ethan, I do want to note some other guys. I noticed throughout the game, especially in the second half, Wisconsin on defense that you're not going to let Mo Ibrahim run all over us and essentially force us to pass through the air. And if this was any other game, like at Iowa, like the Iowa game the week prior and before, where we were very one-dimensional with Ethan in the saddle at starting quarterback, we would have been one-dimensional. Like the receivers weren't getting separation. Brevin wasn't the safety blanket because he was helping either Quinn Carroll on the right side of the O-line or on the left side here and there to help with the O-line for protection and run game. But I think this is my thoughts, but I think despite the pressure and the O-line pretty much getting manhandled by a really good D-line from Wisconsin, Ethan kept things poised, and the receivers, especially the slant. Remember the OG slant game that Kirk Shiraka implemented with this offense back in from 17 to 19, where that was like our forefront as an offense, and the RPOs like came back and was on full blast. And also we have the check down. Brevin was there as a safety blanket getting that first down. So I really enjoyed that. On the offensively, we looked way better. Unfortunately, Mo ended his streak for 100 yards straight games. And also, I think that's in terms of touchdowns. But he was also, I think we noted on our group chat during the game last weekend that he did get dinged up a bit. This Wisconsin game, but I thought offensively overall, no one eclipsed 100 yards passing, like on the receiver side. Daniel Jackson, Dalen Wright, and Brevin were pretty much over 80 yards per receiver. So I was glad to see that. I don't know, what are your guys' thoughts on the offense?
Yeah, I think back to the Illinois game where we didn't seem to be able to get a whole lot going on the ground early. And when we needed to turn to the air, Tanner just wasn't finding it. And then you you compare that with this game. Ethan was finding receivers. He was making plays, and he was absolutely throwing dots. And that's no disrespect to Tanner. We're gonna miss Tanner a lot. Tanner's one of the best leaders this program has. But maybe it's Ethan's got a little bit of a flash that Tanner didn't, or maybe Kirk Shiraka was just up there saying, all right, we're going to let this kid ball out, and got creative with his play calling. If that's the case, good to know that Kirk Shiraka's back. But it was nice to see, when we couldn't run the football, we weren't afraid to throw it, and we put up 300 yards through the air doing that. This is not
the last time we did that was
Minnesota football.
Well, do you think the last time we did that was 300 yards passing?
Jason said it. We lost to Iowa 3 years ago.
I know. Isn't that so weird? Just can't get over it. Still doesn't seem real.
Not only was he throwing it and throwing it well, but they were spreading the ball out over different parts of the field. It's like you go downfield to Dalen Wright. It's like, okay, you got to respect my long ball. And then all of a sudden you're throwing slants and you get LeMahieu Brockington, who is casually, like, just fast as frick, by the way. Like, what is that? Why isn't he not, like, in motion half the time? But just throwing and calling plays all over the field and just giving Ethan time to go through his progressions and see what he thinks is the best move. So not only that, they made Wisconsin's defense respect the short game and the long game.
Isn't it amazing what a balanced offense will do? What a concept, I mean, it was just really weird to kind of see Wisconsin just like completely sell out for the run while Ethan was continuously hitting them for big play after big play after big play. But they were just like dogged in it of saying that, no, we know you're going to try and win running the game, running the ball out. We're not going to let you do that, And it's a credit to PJ, right? Like, he said, okay, we're going to throw it. We don't care. And I think you finally see what they think of Ethan, like especially some of those deep balls, like the one Daniel Jackson makes on the right sideline. Oh boy, is that a drop in a bucket. Like, that one went up in the air. He throws that thing. First of all, he throws his deep ball with some wild anticipation. Like, it's like 4 steps, hitch, deep ball. And it's like, where is this going? Like, my stomach just drops because we haven't really seen these all year. And the ones we do see from Tanner are because he's been standing in the pocket for like 5-6 seconds. And it just, like, it's going way up there, and you're like, oh God, oh God, oh God, oh God. And then it just drops right into the receiver's hands. It's just very refreshing, and it's nice to see him unafraid to take those shots downfield, because I think they may have been a little too, conservative with the coaching of him in the past, but they clearly let him loose this game. And I think that, he could have, there are a couple things I think he needs to, clean up going forward, which I obviously think will happen. Some of the reads, I appreciate him pulling the ball and wanting to throw it, but some of the reads he was making sometimes just hand it off. There's one in particular where he ends up taking a sack, but, they hold the mesh point and then he pulls it, and Mo's got like the biggest hole that he's probably seen all day. It was that drive where they gave up like the back-to-back sacks on it. But he converts the third down, I think.
Specifically falls over.
Yeah. And then he converts the third down to nice catch from Brevin over the middle, I think, is the next play, as the third down play. But first down, he goes to hand the ball off, and if you look, right side of the line's just wide open. Mo could have just walked through it for a first down, but he pulls the ball. And, I appreciate the aggression, but I think those details, he still needs to work out.
For sure. But I also want to touch on, too, have we confirmed yet if Brevin is returning next season, or is he walking? Like, he's gone?
No clue.
Okay. Because I do want to touch on this. So this game, I really enjoyed seeing the receivers. Like, obviously, we had Mo, Trey, and Bryce in the backfield, which, if you look at the stats, they contained a rushing attack to only, where is the stat line here?
97 yards.
97 yards of rushing offense, which is like, so, again, remember how PJ was like, if we win it by rushing for 300 yards or passing for 300 yards, we'll take it. In this case, it was the opposite, because we've been seeing a lot more rushing yards per game with this team than before. But I do want to note, I think with with Ethan and his big arm and great anticipation, I think it opened things up a lot for the receiving game. Like you mentioned, Soup and Griffin as well, like the long game. Because I saw moments where like Dalen Wright and Daniel Jackson just stepped the hell up. Like I'm excited to see what they can do next year. I know in last couple episodes I might not see. I think we might not see Dalen on the roster, but after this game and the better performance at the quarterback level, I think he might end up safe. But like those two guys, I'm confident in the future, especially, and also I can't forget Lemeki Brockington as well. Like the speed on that guy is amazing as well. So I'm very hopeful about the wide receiver core. I know Crab is coming back as well next year.
Hold on.
Wait.
We got a transfer as well.
Yes.
Yep. Just today.
From Wisconsin. I believe his name is
Marcus Allen, I believe.
Yes.
Yep.
Marcus Allen. He entered the portal right away after Paul Chris got fired. He's I think a former 4-star receiver.
Mm-hmm.
Very speedy guy as well.
Yeah. He's fast, but he's more of a big body type guy than like an absolute burner. He's a fast guy with wheels. He's not like a absolutely going to stretch the field slot guy. Which I think they still need. I think they still need somebody who's just, a 4-3 guy who can just absolutely stretch the field out for you, because right now they just don't have that. I mean, Lemeki looked pretty fast, but I don't know if he has. I think Lemeki is an acceleration guy. I don't know if he's got that top end long distance speed. I think he breaks them off by out accelerating guys and breaking angles that way, as we saw on his 45-yard touchdown. So it's a step in the right direction though, and you see people are not afraid if you're a receiver to come here, so that's good.
Yep. But I will also note that a player that we kept bitching about all season long, Mike Brown's team, did not catch a ball, and I think he wasn't targeted as often, which I am all for.
Oh, he still almost gave up his infamous off the hands interception. That almost happened.
Yeah.
So frustrated with Mike Brown-Stevens this season. It seems like every game he's making mental mistakes that cost us on offense in meaningful ways. And I mean, we win this game, so like, good. But you clean it up. Eventually, you've got to clean it up. Otherwise, put in some of these other guys who are showing up. Dalen Wright was, almost non-existent for most of this season. And then for the Wisconsin game, the game that we care about most, he shows up.
Yeah, I mean,
Mike Brown-Stevens.
Dalen's issue has always been between the ears, so.
Yeah, for sure. But I am excited at what this offensive passing game looks like now that we have Ethan in the saddle and the receivers, a lot of them returning as well. So very excited about that. But let's move on to defense.
Really quick before we do.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
We got, 4 or 5 games of data on Ethan right now?
Yeah.
Where do you think he ranks in the Big Ten rankings in QBR?
Top 5?
Where?
I'll say 4
Third.
or 5.
Third is correct.
Ooh.
CJ Stroud, JJ McCarthy, Ethan Kaliak-Manis.
I was going to say, I doubt he tops CJ. I doubt he tops JJ. But I could see Ethan, the way he played specifically yesterday, third.
Yeah, I mean, he's just very, very efficient, very, good at taking care of the football. So it makes sense, but it's nice to it's nice to see.
For sure. All right, now on to the next segment. On the defensive side of the ball, Michael Dixon and Cody Lindenberg are our 2 top players, pretty much 7 solo tackles total. And behind that, Mariano, Justin Wally. Obviously, Justin Wally, I swear he has Graham Mertz's number in the second half of the Wisconsin games he's played in, because every time he played against Wisconsin, guaranteed pick against Graham freaking Mertz. But other than that, I was actually surprised. I didn't watch the start of the game. Apparently, Nubin was out this game due to a hand injury. Is that correct?
Yeah, he busted his wrist. I hope he gets better soon.
Yeah. So with him being pulled, who was the guy who started in his place? Does anyone?
Michael Dixon.
Was it Michael Dixon?
Yeah.
You can tell this game if Michael Dixon was on coverage. They did pick on him a lot.
Well, he played both safety and nickel, which was very interesting to see, because those are 2 very, very hard positions, and to see a guy playing both of those, I think just bodes well for like who he is as a player. So good there, but yeah, he did get picked on a little bit.
Mm-hmm. But I will say though, there were some things that frustrate me so much about this game, though. I'm not sure what's like what the hell was up, but like obviously, um, they're moving the ball down the field, Wisconsin side. Like obviously, we're forcing a lot of the plays into obviously field goals. Like obviously, the first few points in the game for them throughout the game until they got that touchdown finally was all field goals, right?
Hmm.
And some 3-and-outs. But I was just pissed off, like, hey, they don't have Braylon as a Braylon Allen, their star running back, in for this game, and somehow we're letting their second, third string guys run through us. And then obviously, uh, and then somehow we made Graham Mertz look presentable, which he
Yeah.
hasn't been. So I don't know. I was like, I'm hit or
in
miss
the
with
first
this.
half,
Yeah.
Graham Mertz did not look particularly sharp in the second half of football. And, you know, obviously the guy goes down with an injury, and you feel for anyone that goes down with an injury, but he wasn't looking sharp. And, like, Chase Wolf didn't go in there and do well, but God, did he make me sweat.
You got something, Griffin?
The only qualm I have with this team on defense, for the most part right now, consistently every week, is the defensive line.
Absolutely.
Because why are we just rushing 3 or 4 every single time? We can't get pressure on the quarterback. Wisconsin, generally have a very good offensive line. And then anytime we need to even the quarterback decides, oh, maybe I'll just, pull the ball down and start running, there's not even anyone on that second line of like a linebacker to even spy.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, okay, he gets to the line of scrimmage, and then boom, he's going to get at least 5, maybe 10 yards. Like, grammatically, we need to change something up there. But it's just every single week is like he should not consistently have more than, 4 seconds, 3-4 seconds in the pocket. So even just to let him, even if we don't hit him, we can get him to flush and then make him make plays on his feet. But it's just frustrating every single week.
Yeah, and I think their game plan early was to send some pressure at him a little bit. And you would see 5-6 guys like towards the beginning of the game. And the problem was, just like Griffin said, is you're playing man at that point, and guys are turned around once the quarterback breaks the pocket and he's waltzing down the field for 15 yards easily, or because you're still not getting pressure, sending 5 or 6. So I think they just decided, we're not getting pressure with 4, we're not getting pressure with 5, we're not getting pressure with 6. We're just going to rush 4 and drop everybody else back into coverage. He's going to make a mistake eventually. He did. And so I think you saw like a very, very textbook like bend don't break from the defense. They give up 2 field goals in the first half, right? Like overall a good performance, but between the 20s it was kind of ugly for them. They're getting gashed up the middle. I think the inside of the defensive line especially is something that needs to improve. I also want to say, I don't think it helps when the officials at Camp Randall are letting them hold I mean, John Joyner's out there getting held like a newborn baby. What are we doing? Like, it's absurd. I mean, they spent half the game basically holding Ja, and I would not. The camera angle for the broadcast, you can really only see the tackle play. I would not be surprised if the guards are getting inside someone's shoulder pads and really, really yanking him around. So because some of those holes up the middle were very weird, and we can get into like officiating and game flow stuff later because there's a few in like game management stuff because there are some things I'd like to touch on, but I think overall the defense played probably their worst game of the season, I would say. Like they were just not that effective. It didn't feel hard for Wisconsin to move the ball up and down the field until they would get into the red zone, and then they'd see some resistance. They came up with the big play when they needed it. That crazy sequence towards the end of the game, Ja finally gets a holding call. But other than that, this is like the first time in a really long time where the offense wins a game.
Yeah, I have to agree because like even the losses we had against Illinois, Purdue, Iowa, and Penn State, like between the 20s, like even our defense made those offenses struggle. Like they had to fight for every yard they had to handle. Like remember Purdue, like they went for it a lot on fourth down that game too. Was it Purdue? I might be
That was
blurring it
Illinois.
out. Illinois.
Illinois.
And that's a testament to our defense. Like they have like Illinois, they have to offensively go on every down. Like it's four down territory for them because they know our defense is not going to or try not to let them score. Like that's what I was felt all season, and so I have to agree. This was maybe the worst defensive performance all year, especially like between the 20s. Like it was rough, I think.
Yeah, which is crazy because if you think about it, they give up 0 points in the fourth quarter. They get off the field 3 drives in a row in the fourth quarter. So like when the chips were down, they showed up, but the game probably was a little closer than it needed to be for a while. Also, the touchdown that they scored to DK on that end around, Graham Mertz hold. That's a hold.
Yeah, that's a blatant hold. I was going to mention that.
Yeah. I mean, we can talk
like-
about home cooking in a little bit, but my God.
If the quarterback can get away with blatant holding, yeah, something's wrong in the officiating crew on that one.
Look, guys, it was Cannon's last game as a 23-year official trying to go home.
Trying to get home. Yeah.
True. But anything else on the defense? Like anything else to note up besides like it was probably their worst game, but when they showed up, they clamp it down at the end and we won the game. Anything else?
Not really. I think we did a pretty good job wrapping it up. I mean, I just really think the interior of the defensive line right now is that's like our most immediate issue, I would say. So.
Yeah, for sure. But moving on, special teams. So Wyatt, your boys. So Mark Crawford, punting wise, was 4 punts, averaging only 41.8 yards.
Actually, that's the best we've seen out of Mark Crawford in probably a long time.
He broke 40, you guys. He did it.
He broke an average of 40, which, like, it ended up being enough from him.
Was it?
Like, I'm not happy about it, but I also can't really complain about what Mark Crawford did.
So here's
For
what
once.
here's what I noticed. So yes, he did break the 40-yard barrier on his averages, but I will also have to note though, special teams did not do any favors for offense or punting. Like, Soup, I know you got very mad about this, and well, you too, Wyatt, when Quentin Redding or Clay Gear would like field the kickoff or the punt at like our 3-4 yard line and try to make a run for it, like to get some positive yardage, which they should have taken a touchback, honestly, because like they were like getting stuffed at like the 12-yard line, in some cases, or maybe
I think
shorter. But
Clay Geary taking the ball out 3 yards deep into the end zone. Dude, what are you doing?
Clay Geary and Quentin Redding combined on 3 returns for, I think it's 33 yards.
They're like negative 25 yards in field position on the day on kickoff.
All a fair catch, for the love of God.
You spent the whole season doing it. You spent the entire season calling fair catches. The entire season calling fair catches on kickoffs for anything inside the 10. And then this game you go, nah, we're just not going to do it.
But the worst thing about it is Quentin Redding let every punt but one bounce and just roll.
I don't think that's his fault.
It's not really his fault, but like,
there's no way he should be 60 yards from the kicker. I don't know why they line him up that far. That's, again, if we need to get Rob Wenger fired. We got Rob Smith. I had a campaign. We got Rob Smith fired. I had a campaign. We got Mike Sansford fired. My new one is Rob Wenger. I will not rest until he is unemployed.
Dude, this podcast has been preaching from the get-go to fire Rob Renger, led by Laurens. And I wish he was here to chime in on that.
I mean, it's just so bad. Like, you almost lose this game because of special teams. Like, Athan probably shouldn't have had as many passing yards as he did if you had a competent special teams unit. Like, does Athan break 300 yards? He probably does if you consider their net like minus 25 or something, and that's still over whatever he had. But like, at what point do you need to make a change on special teams where you're like, this just isn't good enough? It's just atrocious. It's just so bad.
It's not even really like the player's fault. Clay Geary and Quentin Redding, obviously they made some, really questionable decisions on the returns, but it comes from the coaching. The coaching's got to be there to be like, hey guys, you got to know when it's the right time to take it and when it's not. And in that game, it just wasn't the right time to take those kick returns out. And like Soup says, Rob Wenger's the root of the problem.
Yeah. And then to add more into that, obviously Matt Trickett had 4 field goals to attempt that day. Only made 3 of the 4. One in the second at 25 yards, the other in the third for 50, which was his, I think, career high this season. Then in the fourth, 27 yards, and then a minute 48 left on the clock. This is after the Wally interception where we couldn't convert and eat clock away. Missed the 48-yarder, so the game was closer at that last 2 minutes of the game on the game clock. But yes,
there's nothing easy this year, right? Like, because if he hits that kick, the game's over. They got no timeouts. They need 10 points. It's done. And it's like
50 earlier in the game.
After missing the 45-yarder, and they get a penalty. He misses the 45-yarder and then there's a false start, so he gets a free look at it at least. Then he just bangs the 50-yarder. It's like, all right.
Matthew Trickett sure knows how to create suspense.
He's like Schrodinger's kicker. It's so crazy. It's like all these big kicks he just won't make, but everything else is just money.
But I will also say too, he did make all the extra points, unlike the Vikings kicker who can barely do shit with that. So
they don't win this game without Trickett. Like the 50-yarder is arguably a bigger kick than the one that they would have gone up to 10 with. The 50-yarder is arguably like one of the top 3 biggest plays of the game.
Yep.
It's biggest too because it changes how you call plays.
Absolutely.
And it's so weird. Like I know I've kind of shit on Trickett a lot this year, but Wyatt, I know, has brought up a good point. He's only missed 3 field goals.
That's his 3rd miss of the season, and it's from 48 yards out, which is really fucking hard to kick.
And it's so funny. I don't know, like, is it my standards, like or my expectations for him? But it just seems like his numbers are way worse than they actually are.
Well, this is something I saw after it was week 1 of the NFL season when like 3 kickers got cut because they missed kicks, and it's not just your standards, Griff. It's everyone's standards. Where like sort of the expectation has just changed dramatically over the years because the human body, the athlete, the kicker specifically, has gotten so much better at what they do that these are guys that can hit from 60 yards. And, we just expect them to be automatic on these kicks that just aren't automatic.
I think it doesn't help that we had Adam Vinatieri for like a good chunk of his career in the NFL, and then we have Justin Tucker with the Ravens.
I was gonna say we have Justin Tucker who didn't miss a kick for like damn near 300 straight kicks.
Yeah.
Do the wider college hashes make it more difficult?
I think so.
I think so for sure.
Because all the kicks he's missed, he has not missed by much. I think he makes like every single one of those in the pro hash.
Yeah, like I will notice the one he did miss, right? The 48-yarder, that went barely by the upright. Like it didn't. Like I thought it was in from like the camera.
Pushed it a little bit.
It skinned the upright, and I think Soup's right when he says, and you can even look at the 45-yarder that he misses. He just pushes it way right, and. Like, obviously it doesn't count. He goes and kicks the 50 because he got the free look at it. He said, I don't need to push it that far. I can just do this. And Yeah, that gets him a 50-yard field goal, which is awesome. Kudos to you, Matthew Trickett, for hitting a 50-yarder as a college kicker. That's hard to do.
Yeah.
That's unbelievably hard.
Kudos to you, Matthew Trickett, for being the only reason Rob Wenger still has a job.
Literally. But going on from there, it was a fun game. Obviously, my heart rate and my heart took a beating the entire day. But other than that, it was a fun game. We got the axe back. Love to see the seniors chopping down their goalposts post game. And
we didn't get the axe back. We kept it.
Oh, we kept it. We kept it. But
very important.
It was also fun to see PJ run the Mo and just give him a huge hug. And I think I heard Mo's laughter come out through the broadcast on the microphone of the broadcast. So that was like the perfect icing on the cake for Mo, because like I'm sad. He's gone after this year. Sad to see him go, but damn, what an amazing career that guy has had.
Will we see a better Gopher running back in our lifetimes?
It's going to be a while. It's going to be a long time before someone with that much talent comes onto this team again. And I'm not saying that because talented players out there. Yeah. There are plenty of talented players out there, and some of them might even want to come play for the Gophers. Great. We'd love to have you. But
honestly, if you're the Gophers, I don't think you want to see a running back have that kind of workload ever again.
I mean, think of all the great running backs, though, that have come out of the University of Minnesota.
Yeah.
I mean, why wouldn't you want to come here? I think, and someone's going to have a career here over 4 years, and they might break Mo's records. Who knows? Records are meant to be broken.
Yep. And I saw Kenny Burns got deep into he got deep into the head coach interview process for either Arizona or Arizona State. He did like a third interview too, and I mean, Kenny's going to be a head coach somewhere someday. It's just a matter of time.
Be an absolute stud for some team.
And that's a hard position for us to fill, too, because he's so big on our recruiting. So big.
For sure. But I do want to touch on this next point. Now that Wisconsin's game is over, we're done for the regular season of college football. Let's get into, like, initial reactions, like now that the season's over, and also some time to reflect as well throughout the season. So I'll go first. So I predicted the Gophers to go 10-2 at the start of the season. And I had expectations of us to win the West. Like at the time, we weren't expecting Illinois to rise as they did, but I was expecting the Gophers to be in contention and win the West. And that was the case until week 5. Where we lost against Purdue without Mo. I know that game wasn't that bad, and then the repeated stumbles after that. So I'm disappointed that we didn't get to go to the Big Ten championship. We didn't win the West. However, I think because of the standards that PJ has left behind so far for the program, again, we won 11 games, including the bowl game in 19. You said 2020 is a wash. In 21, they won 9 games, so 8-4 regular season, 9 wins with the win against West Virginia in the bowl game. And if PJ wins another bowl game with this postseason coming up, he's gonna be back-to-back 9-4 seasons. Yes, I am disappointed that we didn't get to championship aspirations, which sucks. Like, we were that close, as well. But I will say that the standards of this program is better off where it is now. That we're now like. We're getting 8-9 win seasons per year and try to be consistent with it so far than what we've had with Tracy Claeys or Jerry Kilprior, or even way before that, Tim Brewster, where like 2 to 3 wins a season with Funky Brewster, and then obviously with Jerry maybe 6-7 wins a season. The 1 year where they went 8-4, almost winning the West as well. So I'd say my standards has gotten higher, and I can't be mad about that. Like, we're going to probably a decent bowl game coming up. So that's my initial reactions. A little bit of disappointment because no Big Ten West bid, but other than that, I'm happy that we have a very good record at the end of the season. So I'll pass it on to someone else who wants to talk about their reflections of this regular season.
I can go next if someone likes. So I think our criticism of PJ is fair this year, but I also think that we need to still give him some credit, because now winning 8-9 games, I think is going to be like the standard. Like that's the worst we're going to perform in a single year. And everyone ripped on, when Bo Pelini got fired from Nebraska. It's like, well, you fired a coach that's winning 8-9 games. Obviously, PJ at the beginning of his tenure said, I'm here to win Rose Bowls. I'm here to win Big Ten West, national championships and all that, which is coach speak, to an extent. But it's also now that we're 5 years into his coaching career here at the U of M, and I think the pressure is starting to get to him to make sure that he's consistently at or above, or at least getting closer to those expectations. And it seems to fluctuate by the year. I think that Iowa game really, really got to him, because I don't know if I saw the whole interview that he had with media where he's like, "You guys wanted me fired last week," and I was kind of sitting there thinking like, well, some people probably thought that, but not the mass majority of us.
They love bulletin board material, though.
That's true, but you could tell like PJ is a very professional person for the most part when it comes to like talking to the media, and that loss last week really kind of got to his mind a little bit. So I think it's the PJ Fleck's the best coach that the Gophers have had in a very long time. He's sitting at or above 500 as a Big Ten record, which is great. We're starting to consistently get, and we're going to have 9 wins in it 3 out of the last 4 years, which we haven't done for a while. So the standard of this program has been raised, but I do think there is some justified criticism for PJ that goes along with that. But overall, we hit 9 wins. We win a bowl game. Hopefully, that's, I think, definitely still a great season, but not as successful, obviously, as we would have liked and what was there for the taking.
Yeah, and I think those are all fantastic points. And another thing I want to give PJ credit to is I said this to you guys during the game. I think his usage of timeouts in the first half was the best that they were ever. It's the best usage of his entire career, including one that he should never ever have to use, where he calls timeout to get a review on a 4th and 1, which is not something that you should have to burn a timeout for, on a change of possession into a TV timeout. But they don't even look at the spot. They apparently $1 billion company ESPN doesn't have a camera angle down the line. They don't measure. They don't respot the ball and measure afterwards. Like, it was really weird. And he ends up having to burn a timeout just to get them to look at it. That's absurd to me. He should never have to do that. And then the other 2 timeouts both felt like, yeah, pretty good. Like the last one is to, stop the clock with 3 seconds left, kick a field goal going into halftime. And the other one before that, I think, was on a 4th down where they eventually decide to punt. And I think that was a good one because the way they lined up, it was going nowhere. They just looked at the front. They're in the shotgun. They've got 3 guys over the center, basically. And I think PJ just said, nah, let's just not do this. Let's not run straight into a wall here and give them much better field position. So again, great usage of the timeouts there. Hopefully these are all trends in the right direction. The season as a whole. So let's think about just like the last 4 years of Gopher football. PJ is 21-3 in Big Ten play over the last 4 years. That's the best stretch for a Gopher football coach since the 1960s, per Ryan Burns. It's the best 4-year stretch in the Big Ten any coach has had since the 60s. That's crazy. That's a lot. What do you, Wyatt? I see you pondering.
You said 21-3. Do you mean
21-13?
Yeah, I was gonna say Minnesota lost 4 this year.
Maybe I was thinking 28-3, but whatever. 21-13. Sorry, I'll enunciate better. Yeah, 21-13 in the last 4 years of Big Ten play. So, pretty good. Kill's best run during his 4-year period was 16-17. Glenn Mason 15-17. So, I mean, like Griffin said, the standard's been raised, and I think the problem is that the standard's been raised. You know, like you've done a great job raising the floor of this program and getting people to believe in your vision and what they think this team could and should be. But now you got to show them. Now you have to show them that all those things can come true. And right now, I think people are still grasping for those things, and that's where the frustration comes from. But I mean, I'm not going to be mad in an 8-4 season. I'm just not. You can't be, because you know where this program was even when I was in school, like 8-4 season, that would have been amazing. So, you know, I think it's a good year where you leave some meat on the bone, and that sucks. But it's a really good year that we learn all these things about PJ. Hopefully, he learns all these things about himself and how he coaches and how to change his best, and seeing what they have in Ethan here, and it propels them forward, hopefully, right? So if you're able to turn in a quote unquote down 8-4 season into some momentum, that's dangerous.
I think most of what's been said is what I would have had to say. The one I'd love to have some of these games back. I would. I'd love to have the Purdue game back. I'd love to have the Illinois game back. I'd love to have the Iowa game back. We were this close to finally, you know, and Iowa's really been that Achilles heel for PJ. Like, it's the same way that Harbaugh had with Ohio State for the longest time, and then finally these past 2 seasons, Harbaugh kind of got over the cliff and took him down. And PJ's been better than anyone I can remember at, you know, just going into these rivalry games and taking trophies. Storming the field against Penn State when they were here last. He's 3-3 against Wisconsin. That's unbelievable. Wisconsin fans are so frustrated with what happened on Saturday because they're not used to a Minnesota coach coming in and having their numbers some of the time.
And the Gophers themselves.
Yeah, they're used to, you know, for what was it, 15 years they just wiped the floor with us. And then PJ walks in, PJ says, "Not anymore," and he finally goes and he gets us one. And now he's got us 2 more. And I think it's going to keep happening. I think PJ's going to be able to keep taking advantage of this Wisconsin team because he knows it's a big game and he can get his guys to go out and play in that moment. I'd love if he could do it with Iowa. That's the next big step, is going and showing that you can do it against more than just Wisconsin. But it's really hard to complain about a season where we're 8-4, and you know we brought the axe home with us. We didn't leave it there.
First time in 28 years, back-to-back axe wins.
Mm-hmm. And I do want to note as well, the of the 3 wins PJ has against Wisconsin, 2 of the 3 has been in Cam Randall. Because remember, in 17, in 18, when we turned around to get that 6-6 season, regular season, we got the axe back that year. And then obviously we lost in 19. COVID year was weird in 2020, and then we won it last year and this year, and twice was at Kent Randall, which is very fun to see when you silence the Wisconsin fans in that stadium. So I do want to mention that, like, especially at Kent Randall. Oh, I love it. I'll take it. But yeah, great thoughts, guys. Obviously, pretty much, yeah, it's the season as it is. So from there, guys, again, we are 8-4 and we are bowl bound. And I do want to list off the bowl games right here for you. So there's 3 that we're going to completely ignore, at least for the Gophers perspective. So the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl, the Verbo Fiesta Bowl are college football playoff semifinals. And then obviously the college football national championship. But here are the games that are listed for the Big Ten that's contracted right now. the Rose Bowl, Goodyear Con Bowl, All-State Sugar Bowl, the Capital One Orange Bowl, the Cheez-It Citrus Bowl, the Rely Quest Bowl in Tampa. I think that got renamed from the Outback Bowl, if that sounds familiar. The Transperfect Music City Bowl, the Duke's Mayo Bowl, the Bad Boy Movers Pinstripe Bowl, the Guaranteed Rate Bowl, and the Quick Lane Bowl game. So we have a lot right there. I did see a few predictions, some saying the Mayo Bowl in Charlotte or the Music City Bowl in Nashville. That's what I've seen commonly referred like as on the predictions. But what are you guys' thoughts on the potential bowl game here?
Give me the PJ Fleck Mayo Bath.
PJ Fleck Mayo Bath would be so much fun.
Plus, smells so bad too in the locker room. But yeah, no, I would like to see that bathe in mayo for that bowl.
You also might get a strong push from the Music City Bowl because the last time the Gophers were there, that's when they played Auburn, right, in Nashville?
No,
that was in Tampa.
Florida.
Tampa.
That was in Tampa.
Yeah, that's the Rely Quest Bowl.
They were between those bowls that year. That's what happened.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe Nashville picks them up because they didn't decide on them last time. So
I mean, if you want to do the full like teams that are bowl eligible, like I'm gonna get ahead of myself, but I think Michigan wins the Big Ten championship, so they're going to the CFP. Who then from there? Who
Penn
leaves?
State will play in the Rose Bowl.
So Penn State Rose Bowl.
You think Penn State plays in the Rose Bowl? Does Ohio State make the playoffs?
Or Ohio State. I don't know. One of the two wins the Rose Bowl. The next one plays the Citrus Bowl, right?
Then no Con Bowl. So it'll be either of those teams. Then we got the Sugar Bowl. Who has the next best record from there?
Purdue.
Probably Purdue.
Orange Bowl. Probably Illinois.
Yeah.
Or if Purdue gets absolutely spanked by Michigan, it's probably Illinois.
Yeah. Then the Cheez-It Bowl. What's it? We're 8-4. Who else has that a decent record? Purdue.
It's basically all a toss-up after that.
How did Maryland do? I'm curious.
5.
Oh, they only have 5.
They're at Iowa's record, essentially.
Okay.
So they're gonna.
So essentially, pretty much between like, what, Cheez-It Bowl and maybe the Pinstripe Bowl is toss-up for like the teams that had 8 or 7 win seasons in the Big Ten. Possibly, because like I won't be surprised if like we don't get the Quick Lane Bowl.
No, I think we avoided that one.
I think we've dodged that one. I think that one's going to Wisconsin.
Yeah. Please don't. I know. I think they don't do it back-to-back seasons. I think because the Guaranteed Rate Bowl, that game was so late at night. Last year, I prefer not.
And the field sucked.
Yeah, in the rain. Oh.
Well, let's see. Maryland and the Pinstripe Bowl seem to have this, thing. They seem to be a good fit for each other.
They're right there.
They're right there. Come on, put them in.
I mean, I could see Wisconsin going to the Pinstripe Bowl again because we all know what happened the last time they went.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I think Wisconsin will enjoy Detroit.
Short bus ride.
That's so good. It feels so good to say Wisconsin could go to Detroit. Because who else are you going to put there? Do you take a 5-7 team this year?
So
I don't think so.
So here's the thing. So we have 10 bowl games that's not CFP related, and there's only 9 teams in the Big Ten that are bowl eligible or better. The only team that could be the exception that could make a bowl with their 5-7 record is only Michigan State. But remember, like the loopholes when the Gophers went 5-7 during like the 2015 season. So like that's very dicey.
I just don't know if there's enough excitement around Michigan State for them to be appetizing as a 5-7 bowl team.
Yeah.
Particularly with, I don't remember how many players it is, but there's a number of players from Michigan State who are facing criminal liability for what happened at Michigan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That maybe teams aren't maybe bowls aren't touching them.
Yeah, probably. So I kind of agree with you guys. It's a toss up with like the middle bowls because obviously, it's possible like the lower tier bowls, like the quick lane bowl or guarantee rate bowl, may just get given to like another group of 5 or power 5 program. Honestly, just because like we have less Big Ten eligible teams for these bowls than what we have right now. So, but yes, I am leaning towards the Mayo Bowl. It's warm weather. It's on Friday the 29th in Charlotte, so a good Friday to watch the game. If not, I'm okay with the Music City Bowl too being on the 31st on that Saturday night. So or Saturday noon.
Nashville.
I would love to. I think regardless, I think it'll come down to the Mayo Bowl or the Music City Bowl, but I really hope it's the Mayo Bowl too. Regardless, both like Gopher fans will travel for both of them, but I would love to see how we'd match up against Florida State.
That'd be fun.
Like, I think if you had a Florida State Minnesota matchup, historically we've run all over ACC teams in the past, I believe.
Yep. They're putting up a lot of points right now, though.
They are, but do they have Mohammed?
That's true.
I have another interesting possibility here, and we saw Auburn in the Outback Bowl. What about something like South Carolina,
Spencer Rattler,
where they've generated a lot of excitement off these last couple of weeks?
No, I would rather see Illinois' defense match up against South Carolina. I think that would be more fun.
Maybe teams will look at it that way too, but Minnesota has one of the best defenses in the country.
We do. I think Illinois could terrorize them better with their defensive line, though. I want the defensive. I want to see.
You want to see Spencer Rattler get hit?
Yeah. Oh, I do. I want him to be hit hard and hit legally. That's it.
Yeah.
Well, cool. So we'll go round robin. Like this name the bowl game you think the Gophers will probably go to, and we'll just end that session there. So I'm going to say Music City Bowl in Tennessee. Wyatt?
Yeah, I'm going with mayonnaise.
Soup?
Mayo.
Griffin?
I'm throwing a 10 on the Mayo.
Let's go.
All right.
Listen, we got that Mayo Clinic in Rochester. It's right there.
Oh, think of all the segments. They write themselves.
We buy all the ad space for mayonnaise-related things.
Not to mention, if we do go to the Mayo Bowl, there was that DM sent to the Duke's Mayo media about eating a dilly bar full of mayo. I would love to see that.
If only for that, it should happen.
On the 50 during halftime. They fly them out, free ticket.
Instead of punt, pass, and kick, it's dilly bar of mayo.
Hell, I'll do that. Get flown out? Fuck yeah.
Love it. All right. So moving on to next segments here. I do want to touch on at least the Big Ten Championship. So it's going to be on Fox at 7 p.m. Central kickoff on the 3rd of this Saturday. Purdue is our Big Ten West champs, 8-4, not ranked, coming in to play against the number 3 Michigan Wolverines at 12-0, 9-0 in conference play. I do want to mention though, Griffin shared this on Discord prior to our episode tonight. Football is family. I do want to preface that. Aiden O'Connell did lose his brother fairly recently, as well. So is it TBD that Aiden will play, or is he playing? Do you know, Griff?
I believe he's still scheduled to play.
Okay, but we do want to mention that football is family. Tragic loss for Aiden and his family, and hopefully, maybe his brother from up high can help him upset Michigan in the Big Ten Championship. I don't know. But I do want to preface that football is family. So going on from there, yes, Purdue does play Michigan coming up. So I really don't know, like ESPN here and the betting odds. So as of today, Michigan's favored by minus 16.5, and the over/under is at 51.5. For this game, the FPI from ESPN saying 89% is favoring Michigan. And in terms of like overall production and like the skill set players that Michigan has, they pretty much outclass Purdue. But we've seen previous Big Ten championships, like remember when Northwestern went, and Wisconsin and Iowa, like it's some of these games came down to one possession games, and then once they make a mistake, it becomes a 2-3 possession game, like in terms of the scoreboard. So I really don't know what to expect from this Big Ten championship, honestly. Like it could be close. Purdue could upset Michigan. I don't know. What do you guys think?
You are forgetting the X factor. The spoiler makers playing a number 2 ranked team.
And the Big Ten championship is not played at 11 a.m., is it?
I think it's 7 p.m.
7 p.m.
I was going to say, the Big Ten championship is in fact played at night, and the spoiler makers play best at night.
The spoiler makers come out at night.
Aiden O'Connell has a really good reason to go out and play spoiler maker. He just got a fucking hell of a reason to go out and shoot new.
It would be an incredible story.
That's not selling Michigan short. I watched the Ohio State game. Michigan did to Ohio State what Ohio State normally does to other teams. And that's an extremely good Michigan team. That is a team to be afraid of if you're just about anyone in this entire country.
Well, they've gotten better as the season's gone on, right?
Oh, yeah. They for sure have. And specifically, J.J. McCarthy has gotten better as the season has gone on. J.J., he went out there and, Ohio State was the first game where he really lit it up. They leaned on Corum for a lot of the season. And a lot of me think is a conspiracy theorist here, but thinks that J.J. McCarthy had it in him the whole time. And they just wanted to sort of sit on it, have it in their pocket for when Ohio State came around.
Yeah,
And
I mean,
they delivered.
I think the kind of game JJ had is a lot easier when you can hit 2 70-yard touchdowns when no one's within 5 feet of your receiver. Really helps. So
It does.
you got to execute those, obviously, but I mean, they had, I think, 3 or 4 touchdowns over 60 yards. Like that's gonna do a lot for you.
I was looking at the third shortest touchdown was a 69-yard touchdown. Third shortest. That's just insane.
Yeah.
In a game where they scored several touchdowns.
Yeah, they scored a lot. It was a really fun game to watch.
They scored a few points.
They sure did. But it's going to be a fun game, especially unranked. Remember, for the spoiler makers to make things work, it has to be a night game. Unranked, obviously.
Against the number 2 team.
Yes. And also, I think this game is at Indy.
Yep.
So it's not going to be at home in West Lafayette. So I hope that Juju comes to Indianapolis with them.
There'll probably be a lot of Purdue fans who, by the way, I did pick to win the Big Ten West at the beginning of the year. So I will say, not happy about being right, but being right's nice.
So yeah, it's exciting. So do we want to provide predictions for this Big Ten championship, or are we just going to toss it in the air and stuff like that?
Michigan.
Yeah, we're doing.
I think we would all take Michigan, but
It's going to be a curb stop. I am disrespecting the hell out of Purdue right now, and I do not care.
I mean, I don't blame you, man. Michigan looked good.
I'm also going to take
Michigan. Dangerous team.
I'm also going to take Michigan too, but I would not be surprised if the spoiler maker starts spoiling the entire night away against Michigan.
I will be surprised. Michigan does not give up enough points, and Purdue does not score enough points.
Yep.
Yeah. But we shall see. But next up, a very interesting discussion point. So two Big Ten West programs have finalized and announced their new head coaches. I do want to start with the program that announced it first. So Nebraska has hired former Carolina Panthers head coach Matt Rule as their new head man for the Nebraska Cornhuskers. I think I saw the contract being an 8-year contract. Is that right?
I thought I saw 6.
Bears legend Trace Armstrong laughing to the bank again, Matt Rule's agent.
Literally. But yes,
Panthers still owe him $120 million over the next 3 years.
They do. But yes, Matt Rule is hired to be the next head man. I got to watch a bit of the press conference that Big Ten Network uploaded to YouTube. And I don't know. We know Matt Rule can rebuild programs. He did it at Temple and Baylor prior in college football. Obviously, it didn't go so well in the NFL, which I think is a different beast altogether as a head coach. So from what I'm seeing, like from like my knee-jerk reaction, I'm like, damn, they're going to be rebuilt pretty quick, I'd say, like within 2 seasons or 3. But that's just me.
I think Nebraska's going to take a little bit of time. I think that program has gone through a lot in the Scott Frost era, and the rebuild's not going to be easy, and getting the vision just right for Matt Rule is not going to be easy. But I think it's a hire that Nebraska can be excited for.
Yeah, I don't know as much there. I would say that with NIL and a former NFL head coach and Nebraska probably having one of the strongest NIL programs in the entire Big Ten, probably a top 4 program for NIL, I would say, in the Big Ten, in the transfer portal, I think you could see an injection of talent very fast. Maybe not so much gelling, maybe not so much of like a winning culture coming back, but I think you could see like a very serious injection of transfer talent due to NIL money and just the nature of the portal right now in general. And I think this will be kind of like the first real look we get at how these things all play together, because it's like the perfect storm to see what would happen in a situation like this.
Oh, for sure. And I think with Matt Rule, remember when he first took the job at Temple and Baylor, he did have like not a great first season too. And then after the first season, he turned around pretty quick. So that's what I'm seeing from this hire. But I don't know. What do you think, Griffin? Since you're the last guy.
I also thought Scott Frost would be a good hire for them, but they obviously didn't pan out. But I do also think Rule is a good hire for the program, not only because I would love to see the Big Ten Conference more competitive. I think we can all appreciate talent and, beating teams, not just having like lopsided victories, like the Northwestern game, like 31-3. But Rule establishes he's an established coach in college, right? Temple, Baylor turned him around, gave him good winning seasons at the end before making his jumps. He didn't work out in the NFL. It happens. So not all coaches can navigate both leagues easily. But he's an established college coach. He's going to come in there, and he's going to do his thing. I didn't even think about kind of what Soup mentioned about the whole NIL thing. I think that's a really good point. And I guess we'll just see how it plays out. But, with the Cornhuskers and the fan base just being one of the most supportive, I think, of any college football team, they're going to welcome him, and he's going to have every resource at Nebraska that he's going to need to succeed.
Cool. Well, then, obviously, so Nebraska has fired Matt Rule. So next program, which was actually a surprise thing. So Wisconsin did not take the interim tag off of Jim Leonard. They have announced they are hiring Cincinnati head coach Luke Fickell from the Bearcats program. I'm in awe. Like I was not expecting that. I was expecting Soup and I predicted Jim Leonard will get the interim tag taken off, but not at all. I'm I'm flabbergasted. I was like, the fuck? Anyone want to take this? Because like I really wasn't expecting this higher.
Jason, would you say you were surprised by how fickle the Badgers were?
Well, I was.
Yeah, I mean, well, first we just have to start with what a great hire. Like a great hire for them. Like kind of sucks to see Jim Leonard go. I think he's got a bright future as a young coach, and I'm interested to see where he lands. I had a good friend of mine today toss me a text saying, "Why not hire Jim Leonard if Joe Rossi gets a head coaching job?" Which, like, I don't hate that at all, because I think he'd also have some bad blood toward Wisconsin, and that's nice. So I agree. It was very, very surprising. All signs were pointing to Jim Leonard at the beginning of the game, and I think that sequence at the end of the game cost him his job, and that sucks because the end of the game, they get to the 5, holding call on Jaw Joyner, 3 false starts in a row. I've never seen that. First of all, 3 false starts in a row.
That was unbelievable.
Yeah, that was like a Gophers level implosion that happened to the Badgers, and it was just like, what is happening? And I think also taking 2 timeouts with you into the locker room first half was also kind of questionable, I think, on his part, where he doesn't call timeout to maybe get the ball back left with like 30 seconds and try for something. But whatever there. I just think it's very odd for a program like Wisconsin to kind of have their groomed in-house guy and to just push him aside because of one meltdown late in the game. I guess against your biggest rival, that hurts, but I don't know. I don't know how you ignore the rest of the resume. Feels, very unlike them, a tendency breaker, just like firing Paul Christ was. So maybe it's just the new management style that they're going with. But who coaches the bowl game? If I'm Jim Leonard, I'm saying, you guys figure it out. You guys can kick rocks. Like I thought we had this job locked up. We talked about it. I have one weird thing with a backup quarterback in. What am I supposed to do about that? Holding penalty. What am I supposed to do about 3 false starts in a row? I can't go out there and play, I would be very upset if I was him. Does Barry Alvarez coach the bowl game again?
I think Jim Leonard coaches the bowl game. And I think he does it so that he can go out there, beat the ever-living shit out of some MAC school, and then say, all right, that's my time at Wisconsin. Who wants me? Because apparently Wisconsin didn't want him, and I'm heartbroken. That was his dream job.
Yep.
He was there, and he should still be there. This should be his job. He went 4-3 in a season that he had no right to go 4-3 in. And I don't know. I think I hate the call by Wisconsin. Obviously, it's an objectively good coach. Luke Fickell's going to be a solid head coach for Wisconsin. Or he's going to turn into Scott Frost, but more likely he's going to be a solid hire. But I can't help but be heartbroken for Jim Leonard. And that's saying a lot, considering he's, not only the head coach from Wisconsin, the interim head coach from Wisconsin, but also a former Wisconsin player. It's just devastating how this went down for him.
And did you see the Twitter storm that came up from Nebraska fans after they announced that Luke Fickell hire? They're like, hey, we have an open defensive coordinator spot. Because remember, they had an interim.
Oh, that would be scary.
And
oh, no, I don't like that.
Obviously, it's Nebraska fans like smoking a lot of juju and that smoke.
I don't know, man.
But I'm like, if Nebraska
Wouldn't have to
gets
change his wardrobe too
yeah,
much.
if Jim Leonard gets hired by Nebraska as their DC under Matt Rule, Wisconsin's not gonna let them live that down.
No,
ever.
that'd be bad. That'd be really bad.
So
Well, here's another thought. Do we know if Kirk Ferentz is going to have his job?
Yeah, Kirk's not going anywhere, man. I don't know. That his contract's disgusting. Like his buyout. I think next year they might be able to buy him out, but this year I do not think so.
I've also heard a lot of people shitting on Pat Fitzgerald, but I think Pat Fitzgerald's job is extremely safe.
Yeah, I mean, who else is going to do that job at Northwestern? Like, you're not going to get a better coach than him.
Correct. Yeah, that's objectively right.
yeah, especially like the amount of money that you get as a football program, and like
They're rebuilding a new stadium. Like
Yeah.
they're playing the long game right now. That's fine.
but yeah, like,
Real quick, let's run down the list of coaches in the Big Ten West. It's a pretty cool list.
yeah. So let's get started. So do you want to go out like from us and down from there? So
I'm just looking at the standings in front of me right now.
okay, go ahead. Who's the first
Jeff
team?
Brom,
Purdue.
Jeff
all right.
Brom, right? Brett Bielema,
Mhm.
Kirk Ferentz,
Mhm.
PJ Fleck, Luke Fickle, Matt Rule, and Pat Fitzgerald.
Damn.
That's a fun list. Like, for people who want to crap on the division, I don't like. It must not be that bad. You know, look at all these great
I mean,
coaches.
Especially when you look at the other division.
But you also look at the future growth of the conference. You know, a couple years down the line.
Yeah, especially with what USC and UCLA, right?
So then you add names.
You probably lose Jeff Brom.
Why?
They
Yeah,
probably lose Jeff Brom to the East.
Well, there's just going to be no divisions.
Oh, you think there's going to be no divisions? Or have they said as much?
Well, eventually there'll be no divisions. I don't know what they're doing in 2024. Let me see if I can find it. Go ahead.
But I will also like on the East side, like obviously you have Ryan Day at Ohio State, Jim Harbaugh over at Michigan. Mel Tucker had a down year with Michigan State. We'll see what happens. They do have some good talent.
I was going to say, there are some people that are already calling for Mel Tucker's head.
True. Obviously, I'm not sure what's going to happen with these other programs. So, Tom Allen with Indiana did not have a great season this year. Greg Schiano. at
Did you see
Rutgers.
the very impassioned statement he went on, Tom Allen for NIL at Indiana?
What do you say? I missed that.
I'll send it to you guys so you can watch it later, but he went on like a very intense pitch for the need for NIL for Indiana football, which I thought was interesting. So
Interesting.
Did you miss Penn State in there, Jason?
I was getting to that. So Penn State has James Franklin.
Keegan Michael Key, yes.
Yes. And then the last guy, Maryland's Mike Loxley as well. Like, if you look at in terms of like the entire Big Ten, and then in the future, if USC and UCLA does pan out, like they get through the legal loopholes of like leaving the Pac-12 and getting the money for it to leave, we have Lincoln Riley at USC, and then who's the current coach at UCLA? Like Chip Kelly.
I believe so.
Yeah.
So like those are some like historic names, obviously like Jim Harbaugh and Chip Kelly and Lincoln Riley, but also and Kirk Ferentz, but also the younger talent and coaches, like the middle-aged young coaches in Luke Fickle, Matt Rule, PJ, Lincoln Riley, James Franklin, and much more, and Jeff Brom. Like again, like looking at this list of names right now and into the future, like this is pretty good. Like I can't say for the same for the ACC, the Pac-12, and
Not even the SEC.
and the SEC. Like it's a list of names that it's loaded for the Big Ten right now in terms of like the coaches right now. Because I remember PJ, right? He turned around a 1-11 at Western Michigan, almost beat Wisconsin in the Cotton Bowl for a MAC program by 13-1 during his time there. We previously, I know we shit on him now, but like Scott Frost turn things around at UCF. Jeff Brom did really well at Western Kentucky coming in. Ryan Day inherited Urban Meyer's program. Jim Harbaugh was who got pretty much fired from the 49ers, came to Michigan. Like, I agree. Very talented group of guys coaching in the Big Ten.
Yeah, and so here's the Athlon Sports wrote an article about what conferences could look like after expansion. If you're going to just do the same thing that we're doing now with the East-West kind of thing, the East would be Indiana, Maryland, Michigan, Michigan State, Ohio State, Penn State, Purdue, and Rutgers. The West would be Illinois, Iowa, Minnesota, Nebraska, Northwestern, Wisconsin, UCLA, USC.
That sounds pretty much like what I thought.
If we were doing geographically, right? Like
East-West, yeah.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, the West is also the harder division.
Yeah.
If that's true, the West is much harder than the East.
But also,
well, the East is a lot more obvious at the very least.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, think about
it too. Ohio State and Michigan continue to be the top dogs.
Yeah, but after that, it's Penn State again, right? Michigan State. But we have, on the West, we'd have USC, UCLA, us, Iowa, Wisconsin. Like that's...
Maybe Nebraska even.
No, Nebraska and Illinois, yeah.
I mean, these are all teams that have an ability to compete for, a division every year if that's how things go. Except for Northwestern, who can't compete in odd years. But,
well, so that's all theoretical, but, it's interesting.
Yeah, for sure. That is a very interesting thought there. I didn't think about it until, like, we discussed it. I was like, oh, shit, this is a pretty loaded list of names in the coaching circles right now. So that's all I had. You guys have anything else to touch on before we wrap up for tonight?
Yeah, I got something interesting here.
Shoot, do it.
Looking at the jobs postings on UW-Madison's website, and I see the football assistant coach, defensive coordinator, offensive coordinator, director of football strength and conditioning, and an assistant strength and conditioning coach all on their live applications.
Pre-bowl game, ouchie.
So, fresh this morning, they listed all.
A lot of people getting chopped.
So I wonder if Fickle's already got like his list of guys, and that's just a formality.
And so circling back to Wyatt, if I'm Jim Leonard, I say screw you guys.
No, I think Soup's right that's just formality, because it has to be posted for a certain amount of time before they can announce anything.
Yeah, but Griff is talking about the coaching the ball game.
Yeah, I was trying.
Ball game? Yeah. No, listen, I think Soup's definitely got a point. And I think that's maybe what I do. But I don't know if Jim Leonard's like that. I think Jim Leonard goes in there and he coaches a bowl game, whatever, he'll do it. And then he goes and says, all right, who wants me now? Because clearly, like I said, the Badgers don't want him. And that's it.
Badgers.
I cannot say enough how heartbreaking it is that the Badgers don't want that guy. But, maybe, like Jason said, maybe Joe Rossi gets his head coaching gig and...
Oh, I didn't say that. I think it was Soup.
That might have been... Maybe Joe Rossi gets his head coaching gig and maybe Jim Leonard finds his way into maroon and gold.
I wouldn't hate it.
I'd take it.
I mean, I don't know. I think Kenny Burns and Joe Rossi will be the next two head coaches off of this staff whenever it happens.
Any rumblings on Joe Rossi and his in that head coaching search for him?
There's like little rumblings every year about it, but never too much. The Kenny Burns stuff seems more likely this year.
Yep.
I just don't think that Joe Rossi has enough flash for a lot of people to like think about him first. They go and they look at a guy like Kenny Burns, who's had Mo just absolutely rumbling through people.
Yeah.
And like Joe deserves it.
Yeah.
Joe has one of the
Joe's
top
been a head
10
coach
defenses in the
before.
country.
He's been a head coach before.
Oh,
And
yes,
he has
yes.
experience, and he definitely has the credentials now. But like, it's not like the exciting hire that a Kenny Burns would be.
Yeah. Usually when defensive coordinators get hired, they get hired from like better teams who are in the spotlight more.
In case in point, Luke Fickell. Remember, he was with Jim Tressel's staff the year he got fired. Jim Tressel got fired. Because I had to do some research. I forgot where is so PJ and Luke Fickell comes from the Jim Tressel tree, right? Luke Fickell was interim head coach for Ohio State. He got retained by Urban Meyer as his DC. Takes on Cincinnati. Last year goes to the college football playoff semifinal, where they did get wrecked by Alabama.
Yep.
At Alabama, and then they had, I think, a 10-win season this year.
Yeah.
As well. So, Luke Fickell gets it done in Cincinnati and gets the opportunity to now rebuild Wisconsin, and with a bigger budget and spotlight with the TV money they're getting from Fox. So I'd say it's perfect.
Well, and
perfect
CBS next year, Paramount Plus, CBS.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. So thanks for the reminder. But
yeah,
this is going to be an interesting future coming up for college football, boys. But let's wrap it up here for tonight. So everyone, thank you so much for watching or listening to OPA Podcast today. Now remember, we're on episode 59, so apologies for that at the start of the episode. But we'll be back again to preview the bowl game. Those should be announced Sunday after championship weekend. Is that about right, guys?
Yeah.
So we'll be back next Monday or Tuesday to preview our bowl game coming up, and probably wrap it up there for the rest of the season. We may do a episode post pregame, post bowl game, but just expect the next episode about the bowl game to be the last for this season as we go on hiatus from there. But thank you so much again for watching and listening, and we'll see you guys next time. And I'm one of your hosts, Jason O, along with
Griffin Most,
Wyatt Oakers,
Soup.
And we'll see you guys next time. And
Oh.